Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special edition of Talking Wrestling TXN. It is going on with Michael Fletcher, alongside Anthony Florio and Michael Bullock, as we had our guys' night earlier this evening. A very successful evening, to say the very least, boys, as we were down at Stevie D's in Riverside. Thank you so much for hosting us. Uh, Great place, good food too, man. If you want some good stuff down in the East Providence, Riverside, Rhode Island area, go down to Stevie D's. Oh, by the way, the home of the fan club of the Miami Dolphins. So definitely a little more of a sentimental home for me, more than any other place. But I digress. All right. So with that said, we got ourselves a really good thing going. And we're going to be recapping Survivor Series that went down last night from the sold out Allstate Arena in suburban Chicago, Illinois, Rosemont, Illinois, which is, like I said, a suburb of Chicago. 17,138 fans. If you guys were in the attendance, boy, did you get a show and then some. It was on Peacock in the United States, the WWE network around the world, or by traditional pay-per-view outlets, if you had that as well. So let's just dive right on in. Let's get it off. We started out with War Games, the women's War Games match. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Shotzi against members of Damage Control, as it was Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane, winners of the bout. 33 minutes, 35 seconds was Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch, as it was the man getting the win with a manhandle slam, second rope super manhandle slam through the table on Bayley to win War Games. Good matchup, solid battle. I'd probably say about 4.5 stars. I think the other War Games was even better than this, but we'll digress and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But still, it was a very good women's War Games match. The emphasis of the matchup was very simple. They used the time that they did, beating each other down. As you know, leading into the fight, Team Bianca Belair ended up getting the power play. Going into it, they won the fan vote. Prior to this, thanks to Ruffles Potato Chips and WWE, they did a fan vote to see who was going to get the one woman up. Team Bianca won it. They got the power play. They made the most of it. So, at the end of the day, it was a solid opening matchup to start off Survivor Series. Anthony Florio, come on in. Team Bianca wins it, as it was Becky Lynch getting the pinfall on Bayley. We kind of predicted the layout of it. We said Bayley was going to take the fall. She did. We kind of were thinking either Charlotte or Becky was going to get the win. It was Becky Lynch.
Bayley faced scrutiny for her recent losses and questions about her role in the new and improved Damage Control, but gave of herself for her team inside War Games last night. Unfortunately, her all was not enough, as she found herself driven through a table and beaten as the opposition secured an emotionally charged win to kick off the show. Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and Shotzi defeated the new and improved Damage Control in a harder-hitting match than many may have expected, with some quality high spots and nasty bumps to really escalate the stakes. Bayley repeatedly saved the match for her team, breaking up pins and going the distance as the first competitor to enter for her team. Ultimately, she was battered and beaten enough that Belair could down her with the KOD, and Becky could manhandle slam her through a table for the win. This was the appropriate feud closer, with a finish that should propel the Damage Control story forward, presumably to the point where her teammates excommunicate Bayley from the group she founded. and set up a babyface turn for the once beloved underdog in the process. You notice the heels that they came out, in a more united front, wearing different Asuka-like masks, creating a very cool visual. Dakota Kai interfered, allowing Bayley to gain the upper hand on Becky Lynch before Shotzi joined the match to give the babyfaces the advantage. Speaking of which, babyfaces having the advantage in this particular bout goes against the psychology of it. But that doesn't stop WWE from booking it in at least one of the two bouts every year. Belair whipped the life out of Io Sky with her braid, causing the champion to let out a blood-curdling scream. Io Sky in a trash can, jumping off the top of the cage will forever be awesome.
Huh.
Yeah, I heard you, MF. I heard Michael Cole. Yeah, I heard you. Becky and Charlotte popped the crowd big time with a mid-ring hug, putting their tumultuous history behind them. So much so, they were laughing it up at the press conference after the show. And I'll get more into that in a minute. And cool spot alert, Asuka tried to miss Shotzi for the second time, but the ballsy badass ducked, and Bianca Belair sprayed the Empress of Tomorrow with a fire extinguisher. Oh, but of course, the spot of the match, without a doubt, was Io with the trash can. MF letting out one of the biggest "look at this" of all time. I mean, and yeah, let's just say it was a big night for Screaming MF. That's all I can say. Screaming Michael Fletcher had himself a night last night. It's amazing he even still last night, especially the ending. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But it all started with that "look at this," and MF would be like, "I cannot believe what I just saw," and like I said, Charlotte and Becky. This is something Michael Bullock and I talk about all the time during our chats or outings or what have you. Full circle moments, and this is a Florio Bullock full circle moment here. 2 years ago, it was personal between these two. These two hated each other, and now 2 years later, they've gone from hating each other to being buddy again. And it's very refreshing to see that. And those two were so cute during that press conference. And say what you want about Charlotte Flair, but that was I never saw Charlotte more down to earth than I did at that press conference last night. I mean, that is the most down to earth I have ever seen the Queen in my entire life. And you guys wonder why I love her so much. So that's why. So And the same goes for Bex too. So, but then again, Becky's always been the more down to earth of the two. But anyways, probably about 4.25, 4.5 for this. No question about it. Great way to start it off, and no surprise about the outcome. The damage control story gets elevated forward. So, not much more to say. 4.25, 4.5 for me. So, Michael Bullock, Phenom, come on in. Women's War Games starting it off. The babyface team winning the match. Io with that trash can spot where she dove off the top of the cage with that trash can on her head. Unbelievable. And then, of course, the moment that you and I will most remember from this match, the reuniting, the reconciliation of Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch after that damn near blood feud they had 2 years ago. Full circle moment indeed.
Yeah, and of course, I got to do it in tribute to William Regal. This was War Games. I had to do it. But anywho, 4.5 stars. Definitely a great way to start off this edition of Survivor Series with the War Games. I mean, yeah, that 6 spot with Io Sky in the trash can, jumping off the top of the cage. I mean, that was just freaking insane. And yeah, the awesome moment with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair hugging it out. And yeah, they were loose during that press conference. I mean, it's about as loose as I have ever seen Charlotte Flair. I mean, look, say what you want about Charlotte Flair. I mean, I know she's still got some haters out there, but this is about as down to earth I've ever seen Charlotte Flair. I think Charlotte's doing her best to try to work it out as a baby face. I know some people are saying, "Oh, she's better off as a heel." But come on, you got to at least give her some credit for for trying to work it out as a babyface. And her and Becky were hugging it out, and like you said, this was a full circle moment because 2 years ago, these two, I mean, they wanted to literally tear the living daylights out of each other. And don't forget another moment, that awkward championship belt exchange as well, leading up to the match, and all the backstage drama. And now here it is, 2 years later. They've made up. So I guess this is their way of using this stage is to try to put the past behind them and move ahead. So yeah, and of course Bayley being the one to take the fall for Damage Control. And yeah, I think this is the continuation of this storyline with Damage Control, and I think at some point in some time we're gonna get the other members of Damage Control kicking the one who formed the team, Bayley, and Bayley's going to become a babyface again. And who knows? It could come as soon as Friday night on SmackDown. So we'll have to wait and see what happens come Friday night. But either way, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And in my opinion, I think it's going to happen Friday night. Just saying. 4.5 stars. Let's move on to the next match, Fletch.
With that said, the next match that we did have was Gunther going up against The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. And Gunther wins the match in 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Anthony Florio, it is yours.
3.5 stars. No question about this. Gunther will never underestimate The Miz again following last night's grueling Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship defense. Luckily, despite his early hubris, the Ring General found himself in a fight against a scrappy, resilient veteran, enduring a low blow and nearly losing the title following a skull-crushing finale. Ultimately, Gunther overcame the tenacity of his challenger and tapped him out with a half Boston Crab while digging his knee in the back. The Miz's toughness was on display here as he absorbed everything thrown at him and still mustered enough to nearly beat the champion on more than one occasion. The fans were hot for him and wanted to see him win the title, but Gunther snuffed out their hope. Who will eventually dethrone the champion? Who knows? And as long as he has matches of this quality, who cares? Gunther is the best wrestler on the planet, and long may he reign. The Miz dug into his bag of tricks and broke out a Bret Hart-inspired figure four around the ring post, to which Michael Cole expressed the A-lister's love for the Hitman when he was a child. Good boy. I'm happy about that. Great false finish alert. Miz pulled the turnbuckle pad off, booted Gunther in the knee, and followed with a low blow before delivering the skull-crushing finale for a very close 2 count. And Corey Graves covered up for an ugly top rope splash from the champ, claiming his injured knee would not allow him to execute it properly. Great matchup here. Sleeper fight of the night. 3.5 stars. No question about it. That's an easy rating on this. Outcome never in doubt. We all knew Gunther was going to go over. But hey, get credit to the Miz. Miz ended up giving him much more of a fight than we thought. So it was far better than it had any right to be, honestly. So, so with that being said, 3.5 stars for me. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, I mean, if not the Miz, then who? Who in the hell can stop the Ring General? I don't know.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Gunther has gone through so many opponents. I mean, he has turned back so many. I mean, the names are so long. I mean, it's hard for me to name all of them. I mean, but to me, the one who has come the closest to defeating Gunther, I'm going to say it, and I don't care what anybody says, I think it was Sheamus from Clash at the Castle. I mean, that to me was in a match that we gave it a 5-star rating at that Clash of the Castle. I mean, Sheamus, I mean, Sheamus gave him all he can handle, and somehow Gunther came out the Intercontinental Champion still, and he has continued it from turning back so many different challengers, and now the Miz is the latest victim. But the Miz definitely gave Gunther all he can handle. But in the end, the Reign General is still the Intercontinental Champion and the most dominant Intercontinental Champion of all time. So yeah, I mean, the only question is right now, who's next? I really don't know. I mean, we're starting to run out of names of who could challenge him next. So 3.5 stars. I mean, it was the sleeper fight of the night. I mean, it was definitely good for what it was here. And Fletch, as I give it to you, I mean, the same question that Florio asked me, and I'm going to ask you: who can stop him? I mean, we're starting to run out of challengers.
There's not that many guys now. Like you said, I mean, the list is starting to grow thin, but hopefully we can find somebody. But there's really not one that we can say. It's very interesting. But yeah, you said it. Gunther had a great, successful title defense, the 3.5 stars. As far as going beyond that, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But the story now remains is who's going to be next. But honestly and truthfully, I don't know. We don't know. But at the end of the day, we'll move on. And the next thing that we did have was Santos Escobar going one-on-one with Dragon Lee. Initially, it was supposed to be Carlito, but it got altered. Dragon Lee takes the match. And Santos Escobar wins the match in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
I thought this was a solid match. I mean, it was. I mean, I would have loved to see a little more out of this, but in the time it did get, I enjoyed it. But I'll give this about maybe 2.5 stars. I mean, it definitely could have been better in some spots, but there was one thing, Fletch, and I know you can vouch for it, that really, really irked me, and it's something that Santos Escobar did during the match. He was trying to pull the mask of Dragon Lee off, and my friend, the law when it comes to doing something like that to me is like committing a sin, even though he didn't really pull it off, but just by an own Latin person trying to do something like that is flat out disrespectful. It is disgusting, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, I understand you're trying to get him over as a heel, but to do something that is something that I can't even stand for, because I have so much respect for all the great lucha libre wrestlers who have worn that mask. And I've gone through the names so many times, like Rey Mysterio, like the Lucha Bros, Hall of Famer Mil Mascaras, and another like Rey Mysterio as well, another Hall of Famer that Santos Escobar took out. I mean, I could go through. I mean, Fletch knows more great lucha libre wrestlers that have worn the mask. I mean, he could tell you a lot of stories about it. But what Santos Escobar tried to do was just flat out disrespectful to all the great lucha libre names out there. So, yeah, that's just something I can't stand as well. So, 2.5 stars. Fletch, I mean, you know a lot about lucha libre wrestling. You've covered it for so long. And when you see someone like Santos Escobar trying to pull it off, that That to me is like crossing a line there.
I get where you're coming from, Bullock, but the thing is this. There's been many times where guys have ripped at the mask, tried to take the masks off. I hate to say it, but it is part of wrestling. That's that unfair advantage that you try to do. Yes, Lucha Libre, the mask is sacred. There's no doubt about it. But
And
the
that's the
thing
thing,
is,
Fred. I get it's part of wrestling, but the thing is, the mask is sacred. It's a part of history, and I know it's part of wrestling, but I'm trying to respect the great legacy of it.
look, I get where you're coming from, and that's the thing. Like, how many times have I seen guys try to rip Rey Mysterio's mask off? How many times have we seen guys try to rip the mask off of Mil Mascaras? That's kind of, unfortunately, that's some things that does happen. I'm not defending it. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying it does happen. But for you to try to be like, oh, it's wrong, it's lineage, I get it, and you're right, it is lineage. If he took the mask all the way off, I would have flipped. That's where the line is drawn for me. If the guy's ripping at the mask, yes. Is it wrong? Yes. Should he do it? No. But the thing is that I get it, and I'm not trying to defend Santos Escobar here. But the thing is, I've seen this happen too many times. But at the end of the day, it was a 2.5-star match. I thought it was a solid fight. And I really got nothing more to add. So, Florio, it's yours.
I might be overrating this, but I don't care. 3 to 3.25. Santos Escobar is riding a wave of momentum following his betrayal of Rey Mysterio, and he built on it with a hard-fought victory over Dragon Lee. The match was excellent for the time it was given, with each man showcasing their talents as two potential faces of WWE's bright future. At one point, Lee looked to have Escobar beaten with a sit-out powerbomb, but the former face of Legado del Fantasma kicked out at 2. Moments later, he delivered a destroyer and added the Phantom Driver for the win. This may have been the first showdown on the main roster between these two, but it won't be the last. If they continue trending upward, they will clash on a stage as large as this for years to come, when they will have more time to work with. The commentary team retelling the story of Rey Mysterio calling Dragon Lee the future of Lucha Libre will only help the masked competitor as he embarks on his journey to superstardom. A few more minutes, and this may have been a classic, as both guys were just starting to cook here. So, 3 to 3.25 stars. Excellent for what it was given. Very fun little sprint, but what could have been with more time. So there isn't much more to say on that. So MF, we move on to. So
it's the women's title fight.
Yep, we move on to the Women's World Championship. You started off.
Yeah, it's Rhea Ripley going up against Zoe Stark. Rhea Ripley winning the match in 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Outcome never in doubt. We knew Rhea was going to win it, but props to Zoe Stark for making this a more competitive fight than this match would have been initially. I think we all could agree that we knew Rhea was going to win it. We all knew that she was going to get the job done, but Zoe made this more competitive than on paper this should have ever been. Look, don't get me wrong. Zoe has done very well, but you are nowhere near the caliber or the talent of Rhea Ripley right now, the female wrestler of the year. So for Rhea to really make Zoe into the star that she was here tonight is absolutely a testament and a credit to her for making this a better match than what it should have been. At the end of the day, and unfortunately, for Monday Night Raw, you're in Rhea's world, and you're just trying to follow and keep up with the Eradicator. That's all you're doing right now. Good luck to any woman to try to beat this one right now. probably the only one that I could see, maybe, and I'll truthfully say it, the only ones I could see have a legit shot is either Becky Lynch, or if she does make her Raw debut at any point, maybe we'd be talking about Jade Cargill. Other than that, Anthony Florio, it's yours. 3 stars.
Same thing, 3.25. Like Gunther earlier in the night, Rhea Ripley's overconfidence was met with the challenge of a driven competitor looking to dethrone her, as Zoe Stark rose to the occasion and gave the Eradicator everything she could handle. Stark was great, matching Ripley's physical intensity and giving her the type of fight that will only elevate her in the eyes of fans. The title holder ultimately countered the Z360 and delivered Riptide for the win, continuing the best year of her career in a reign that has been utterly dominant. How Triple H and the rest of WWE creative follow-up with Zoe Stark will ultimately determine how successful this was, or if it was merely another opportunity to put Rhea Ripley over strong. Michael Cole called Ripley a star during her entrance, simply reiterating something everyone with eyes and a feel for aura already knew. She carries herself like one and knows she is, and the fans treat her accordingly. Stark was great here in her first individual opportunity to win the title and the biggest match of her young career. Another 3 to 3.25 stars match, so not much more to say. Michael Bullock, same question about Gunther. I mean, who in the hell is going to stop Mommy? Emmett thinks it could be Becky Lynch or Jade Cargill. Very likely it could be one of them, or maybe it could be somebody else, but whoever it ends up being, that woman is going to get one hell of a rub.
Yeah, and I agree with Fletch. I think the only ones who I think could dethrone Mommy and take that women's world title is either Becky Lynch or the woman that we're still waiting to see in her debut. Maybe it's Jade Cargill. I mean, it could be either of those two or somebody else that we don't expect. But yeah, we're in Rhea's world, and we may not like it, but we're gonna, as Batista once says, we just gotta deal with it. I mean, there's really nothing more for me to say. It's a 3-star match, but yeah, give props to Zoe Stark. I mean, she gave Rhea all she could handle. I mean, this match turned out to be much better than it should have been. I mean, this is why so many people are high on Zoe Stark right now, and she gave you a really good example. Somewhere down the line, she'll get her moment. She definitely will. But tonight was not the night. I mean, last night wasn't the night for her. So, yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to say. So it's a 3-star match for me. And so, Fletch, is it time for the next War Games match, or do we have one more thing to talk about?
No, this is main event, the men's War Games fight. And here we go. So it was Team Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton versus the Judgment Day. Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, and Drew McIntyre. The winners of the bout. 34 minutes, 50 seconds was Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton. They win the War Games. Anthony Florio, it is all yours.
4.5 to 5 stars. Pro wrestling, when done right, is the best. The main event of Survivor Series was done right. The Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre were in a dominant position late in War Games, with Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Seth Rollins reeling. Enter Randy Orton, who made his way to the ring amid a roaring crowd. From there, the babyfaces fought their way back into the bout, each delivering their signature offense before the American Nightmare planted Damian Priest with Crossroads for the win. The victorious babyfaces stood tall, and the arena greeted their win with a celebratory pop. We'll get into the big moment in a minute. I know MF wants to separate that, and that's fine. A fantastic match of the year candidate main event and an unforgettable return at the end made this as buzzworthy and fan-serving a finale as there has been in recent memory. Big-time tension early as Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre stared each other down, neither really trusting the other despite being on the same team. WWE went with the Randy's Not Here storyline, presumably to preserve the pop for later in the bout. Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre teed off on each other midway through the bout, a logical spot that had fans red hot. An extended feud should be up next for the pair. On July 4th, 1987, at the Omni in Atlanta, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, created War Games. He never lost that match, and last night, Cody Rhodes entered it for the first time in his career. Michael Cole said in his best call of the night. He added Cody also created an event in this city, a reference to the industry-altering All In for AEW in 2019. Cody Rhodes, cowbell, it just feels right. The babyfaces beat down Dominic Mysterio to an enormous pop from the fans. The Orton reaction blew the roof off Allstate Arena. The tease of an RKO to Jey Uso was great, mostly because it created drama and simultaneously teased the logical tension between the two. 4.5 to 5, no question about it. Fight of the night for me. I know MF wants to save the big return for a little bit, so not much more to say. Michael Bullock, only your thoughts on the men's War Games match. 34-50. Babyface team wins it. 4.5. 4.5, 4 3/4, 5 stars. It's in that range, no doubt.
Yeah, 4.5 to 5 on this one. This was definitely the fight of the night, hands down. The action was definitely great. I mean, the battle between Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre was what we waited for. I mean, especially since Drew wanted to get his hands on him because he never really liked, especially after everything he did when he was with the Bloodline, and to see Cody Rhodes in a match that his father took part in back in 1987. I'm sure it had to be a surreal feeling for Cody Rhodes. And they went with the whole Randy's Not Here thing. Obviously, they wanted to save the big pop for later on. And just when Rhea was going to have that cash in for Damian Priest, Randy's music hit. And, oh boy, the Allstate Arena popped big time. And I got to say it, guys. And Fletch, you can back me up on it. Randy Orton's, he certainly looks in real good shape after being out for about a year and a half. And you could just see, you could tell he was excited and he wanted to get in there and do some damage right away. And who was the first person he went after? He went after
Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah. Little lesson to you, Dominic Mysterio. For you to try to attack or poke a Viper, Fletch, tell the people what happens when you do something like that to someone like Randy Orton.
Normally that Viper strikes.
Yeah, and not only did he find out, but so did JD McDonough and Finn Balor. But one of the sickest moments in that match was I don't know about you, Fletch, but one of, if not the greatest RKOs we've ever seen. They threw JD McDonough off the top of the cage, and Orton caught him with an RKO.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was sick. And I'm going to say it right now.
Be the end of the fight. I actually thought that was going to be the finish, but then Randy told Cody, "No, you finish this. This is your moment." And sure enough.
Yeah, and you want to talk about that. What a moment that was. Randy could have finished him off, but for him to basically tell Cody, "No, you finish this off." That just showed you how much respect he's got for Cody, because as we all remember, they go back to their days of legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they had their moments, but there's got to be mutual respect between these two individuals. And for Randy to do that, that's a class act. And I mean, call me crazy to say that, Fletch. When you say class and Randy Orton, that's never.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rare thing to see that from Randy Orton. He's never the kind of guy that's like that. But this is a different Randy Orton now. I mean, and especially when he was a babyface and he was once part of the tag team champions with Riddle. I mean, we've seen him get some big time pop here, so the outcome was never in doubt. A great moment. 4.5 to 5. Fletch. All I can say is Randy Orton is back, and we were wondering about the rust after being out for a year and a half, and I gotta say, no sign of rust from Randy Orton. And if I were the Raw roster right now, I'd be shaking in my boots right now.
Yeah. So all we know is that Randy Orton is going to be on Monday Night Raw tomorrow. However, they have not officially announced what show he's going to be on. Technically, as of now, he is a free agent. He is not linked to Monday Night Raw. He is not linked to SmackDown as of now. He will be on Raw, so we'll get to see him. But as far as it goes, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, without a doubt, remarkable return.
So because he's a free agent, we could see them both on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, as of now, but we'll see. But at the end of the day, it goes like this. There was that thought of, will he be there? Will he not be there? Everything else. And I was a little nervous, especially after I found out that Orton was not in Chicago, was not at the All-State, that he was not in the arena. I'm like, what is this? Please don't tell me they're pulling the rug out from under me, because I would have been devastated. I would have been furious if I hear that Randy Orton's not going to be there. But at the end of the day, not only does he show up, he comes back, guns a-blazing, absolutely amazing. Yes, this is a 4.5 to 4.75. You could make an argument for 5. This was fight of the night. This was excellent. This was awesome. Everybody played their parts really well. Yes, there was a lot of drama. You had Drew and Damian Priest. It looked like they were about to go to blows. Orton was about to tee up on, he was about to unleash an RKO on Jey Uso until Jey saved him, and that maybe earned Orton the respect. Like, all right, okay, I respect you now. You got my respect. You did good. You did good. All right. I guess bygones be bygones. You're not the same Jey Uso, because I remember you're the reason why I missed a year and a half, because of you and the bloodline. But for that night only, everything was cool. No drama. So, yes, at the end, the baby faces are standing tall. Everybody is celebrating, lights around the arena. You see the Survivor Series graphic. I'm about to sign on traditionally, saying so long, everybody, for the Survivor Series, except a familiar song from In Living Color called Cult of Personality hits the PA. Myself and Anthony Florio, Torian's son, gasped. I let out the biggest what? No! Anthony Florio said, I'll believe it when I see it. And a certain someone comes right through the door, and we cannot believe who it freaking was.
Hell is frozen over.
Hell has indeed frozen over for the first time in over 10 freaking years.
Almost.
CM Punk is back in WWE. The proverbial middle finger to AEW. Literally, the middle finger to AEW, to Dave Meltzer, to Sean Ross Sapp, and any other idiotic, goofball, McGundy, stupid dumbasses of the IWC that said that this would never happen. Why don't you sit on it, rotate, hold the nuggets, and suck the D? Because that's what happened last night.
Yeah, to all those people who said CM Punk would never come back to WWE, CM Punk just gave those guys the middle fingers and said, "You guys can go F yourselves and you can like it."
So that was the bomb of all bombs. CM Punk returns. Everybody's going mental. We lost our minds on commentary. I was done. At that point, I'm done. I'm not believing this moment. Incredible scenes. No doubt in our mind, it was definitely the segment of the night. But it did come with some price. Seth Rollins was not happy. Oh my God, did he flip seeing CM Punk? He was absolutely just furious at the sight of CM Punk. But we found out that was storyline. That's a total work. That was 100% a work. So it looks like they're setting up for CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins sometime down the line. One person who did take it genuinely not happy, who was genuinely pissed about the whole situation, was one Drew McIntyre. Supposedly ran to the back, slammed the door, grabbed his stuff, and bolted out of the Allstate Arena in Chicago and left in a heap. What does that mean for Drew McIntyre, and what does the future mean for him? So it is unfreaking real what we're living in, because, like we said, we'd all thought this was never going to happen. We all thought that, there were rumors, there were some stuff that was going to happen, that maybe we get CM Punk. Maybe he might come back to WWE. It was, to us, it was more wishful thinking. It was more like, we hope this happens, but we can't necessarily say yes or no. But lo and behold, it happened. He is back. He is here. And everybody is going bonkers. There's nothing more to say. Like Anthony said, hell has frozen over. The biggest moment of the night, Punk coming out, the crowd going bonkers. And if you want to talk about the ultimate middle finger, the photo, Triple H, CM Punk together, Triple H with the traditional finger point, CM Punk pointing right back at him, together, united under the WWE banner. There's nothing more to say. Guys, open forum. You can say whatever you want to say. Moment of the year, WWE 2023. The moment we never thought we would see. CM Punk, Bill Brooks, whatever the fuck you want to call him, has returned to the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Moment of the year.
Man, I mean, this is a moment that we all thought was never going to happen. I mean, I was hopeful for it, but I'm like thinking, there's no way this is ever going to happen. I mean, if you would have told me 9.5 years ago that CM Punk would ever come back to WWE, I would have said, not on your life, because of all the stuff that happened that ultimately led to CM Punk walking out, and we didn't see him again until 2021 when he went to AEW. And he had a good run there, but then he had some multiple backstage stuff that didn't go well. Tony Khan released him, and we're thinking, he's never going to wrestle again with all this stuff. I mean, who's going to want to take a chance on him? And I heard a certain rumor, guys, that Impact Wrestling, they offered a much bigger deal than what WWE offered to him. And he turned that down.
Yeah.
I mean, that was shocking to hear that. Obviously, I mean, and here's the other thing that I think was the reason why CM Punk decided to come back to WWE. And the one thing that really made me think of it, Vince McMahon's no longer in creative control. I mean, that is the thing to me. It was one of the things that ultimately led CM Punk to come back. And the thing, and we even talked about it during our guys' night. I mean, Triple H had no problems with CM Punk. CM Punk had no problems with Triple H. And who's running creative now? Triple H. So he was the one. Actually, I heard it was Nick Khan who agreed to it, and CM and Triple H was the one who made it happen. I mean, what a moment this was. I mean, that crowd in Chicago, well, obviously it's CM Punk's hometown. That crowd, I thought the roof was going to freaking explode the moment his music came and the moment he came out. I mean, that was the ultimate middle finger to Dave Meltzer, to Sean Ross Sapp, to AEW, to any fucking member of the IWC that said CM Punk will never wrestle again. And this was CM Punk basically giving the middle finger to all those idiots out there. And there was one person, you said, Fledge, that was literally trashing AEW. And that somebody was someone that I can't stand, Vince Russo. Why don't you elaborate, Fletch, on what you told me and Florio?
All right. Well, let me see if I can find the quote before I say anything, because I don't want to misquote anything. So Vince Russo came out on Twitter, I believe it was Twitter, and basically attacked AEW. He basically went after AEW, and namely Tony Khan. Let me see if I can find the quote. But he did open fire on him. Let me see if I can find it. Because he absolutely annihilated him on social media. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
He didn't hold when he trashed AEW and Tony Khan.
Yep. All right, here's the quote. Here is the quote. He says, and I quote, "Bro, when you're working in entertainment world, you have to deal and work with egos. It's part of the job. When any," and he puts that in bold capitals, "any entertainer reach a certain level, there is going to be an ego to deal with. That's anything sports, music, TV, and movie business. It's part of it. I had to deal with many things, many in wrestling. Bottom line, Tony Khan didn't understand that clearly and clearly didn't know how to deal with it. So now AEW suffers a major loss. WWE gains a huge victory." End quote.
man, he really. I mean, thoughts on that quote?
I'll tell you what. I mean, it's I don't know what to make of it. Honestly, I really don't.
Well,
I mean,
there are some things I do agree with him on, but then again, there are some others that I don't agree with him on. Now, I'm trying to be careful with what I agree or disagree with him on because I don't want to get any of those who support Vince Russo that'll say, "Oh, you're a hater of Vince Russo." I mean, look, I'll say it like this, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't like the guy. I mean, he's done some stupid things in professional wrestling. I mean, here's one thing, for example. I mean, the Brawl for All. Need I say more?
no.
I mean, he literally effed up that whole thing. Not just with the whole thing, but certain wrestlers. Because we saw on that dark side of the ring, so many wrestlers got effed up during that whole Brawl for All. So yeah, there are some things I do agree with him on, but then again, there are others that I don't agree with. So, but either way, I mean, this was a great moment. Certainly something that I thought we would never see again. And you know what? To all those people, all those in the IWC who said that this would never happen again, this is the ultimate middle finger to you guys. So, any thoughts, Florio?
Yeah. Be careful with what Vince Russo says. And yes, I 100% agree when it comes to Vince Russo. With all due respect, I don't really have much of a comment on that. But if you're all set with your thoughts, Bullock, I'm going to give mine when it comes to the return here.
Oh yeah. That's why I just muted myself.
Okay.
So just
Yep,
to
just
give
making
for you
sure.
to give your thoughts.
Yep. All right. Yep. The victorious babyface team stood tall in the arena, greeted their win with a celebratory pop. The copyright logo appeared on screen, but then Living Colors, Cult of Personality played over the PA system, and CM Punk walked back on the WWE television as a wrestler for the first time in nearly 10 years. The images of the Chicago fans giddily jumping up and down, chanting his name, and embracing him were the perfect out for the show. That he did not target anyone or get physically involved made for an extraordinary cliffhanger to close out the night's show. A moment to remember. I mean, I don't know what else there is for me to say except, next month when we do our year-end awards show, I think we found our moment of the year, boys.
I agree.
And we're not going to have to wait long because tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw,
Yep.
CM Punk will be in Nashville.
And so will Randy Orton.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure you two are going to agree as well, he needs to kick off the show, CM Punk, because I am so dying and itching to hear what he has to say.
And we have a meh Monday night game on top of it anyway, so give people reason to tune in to Raw. There's no better reason for them to tune in to Raw than to see what CM Punk has to say. He's got a pipe bomb, and he ain't afraid to use it. And my God, I mean, you thought that pipe bomb he cut when he showed up in AEW, when he came back wrestling all together 2 years ago at the United Center on that second episode of Rampage. You thought that was big? Ooh, this is going to be even bigger. Watch out for Seth freaking Rollins. Maybe Drew McIntyre. I don't know. But Punk's going to be there. Orton's going to be there. Oh, my goodness. You do not want to miss Monday Night Raw tomorrow night at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. And you best believe the three of us are going to have a lot to say about this tomorrow night on Ridiculously Raw. So, man, a night to as MF. This is one of your quotes from one of our great legendary moments on our show. A night to remember, a moment to remember. That, and as I always say, that crowd in Chicago last night, they just took home a memory worth a lifetime memory right there. So that memory is going to last them a lifetime. They're going to tell their kids, they're going to tell their grandkids and say, hey, I was there when CM Punk returned to WWE for the first time in almost 10 years. Special moment indeed. You know, when it came to moment of the year, I mean, I was flipping between Jey Uso pinning Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning the tag team championship at WrestleMania. I mean, it was between those two. This moment last night just trumped them both combined. That's all I'm gonna say. We don't even need to wait until next month for our year-end award show, our year-end special. We're talking Wrestling TXM, whenever that is. Man, you want your moment of the year for 2023? Philip Jack Brooks just gave you your moment of the year for 2023. That's it. So I don't know what else there is to say that hasn't been said already. I mean, in the immortal words of MF and Jim Ross, business has damn sure picked up. So Bridgestone Arena, Nashville, Smashville, Predators, Predator Country. Your turn. Pipe bomb. Get ready for it. It's coming. So I don't know what else there is to say except MF, I believe it's overall review time, and I believe Bullock starts it. Is that right?
It is. He does. Michael Bullock, you.
Yeah, so to me, I thought this was a really good Survivor Series. Both War Games delivered. You had a couple of solid. You had some solid matches that mixed in as well. I would say by default, the worst fight of the night was, I would have to say, maybe the women's world title match, even though it wasn't as bad as it was. I mean, it was still a good match. But of course, the big moments was, of course, the return of Randy Orton. But of course, the biggest highlight was the unexpected return of the best in the world, CM Punk, to WWE for the first time in over 9.5 years. So, in essence, I would have to give this a 9 out of 10. So, there's really nothing more for me to say. It is yours, Fletch.
I agree. 9 out of 10. Amazing show. Really nothing more to add here. So, Anthony, it's yours.
I'll make it unanimous. 9 out of 10. There was an incredible amount of buzz entering the Survivor Series War Games pay-per-view. Not only was it the return of War Games in Chicago with the return of Randy Orton in the night's main event, but there was a pregnant cloud residing over the show in the form of CM Punk and a potential return to the company he walked out on in 2014. WWE delivered everything fans could have wanted and then some, with both the men's and women's War Games matches exceeding expectations and instantly ranking among the best it has produced. From there, Orton's return was magical as Orton hit the ring and showed that raw energy and the world's best snap power slam, while joining Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins in dispatching the Judgment Day. Then Triple H and company masterminded the greatest surprise in modern wrestling history with the return of CM Punk, a moment that some will love and others will hate, but everyone will be talking about for a long time. There may be other shows that were consistently better from top to bottom, but this was not only great between the ropes, but also delivered the happenings fans demand from a pay-per-view. This was an easy 9 out of 10 all the way. 9 out of 10, take us home, MF.
All right, and we will do it next tomorrow night. It's another edition of Ridiculously Raw, hosted by Anthony Florio. Then on Wednesday night, we're back to the format. We got it will be we go back to Wednesday Night Madness. College football Thursday is back, and this time it's championship week. Friday is NFL Friday, and then Saturday is our traditional, the cerebral smack talk. So we're back to the regular format, folks. So we start off at 11 p.m. after Raw goes off the air. So for Anthony Floyo and Michael Bullock, I'm Michael Fletcher saying so long, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow night.